Hi, this is Darren with SimNation. A bunch of you have asked me to do a quick video on the championship game for SNCFL and how I was able to game plan that and be able to win. I'm not going to show you a lot because there's certain things I'm going to hold back because I don't want you using that against a visible witness. But let's just dive right into it, right? By the way, Invisible Witness is probably one of the best coaches in this whole genre, whether it's pro or college. What he's done in college in the short time he's had Auburn is pretty impressive. What he's done in the pro league is even more impressive. He's tomorrow night going up against me for his third consecutive championship. Just a great overall coach. Going into this game, I had a couple of things I wanted to do. And I'll show you Auburn real quick, and this will help you understand. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, by the way. Auburn, if you look at this, scores a ton of points very fast, lots of yards. Most of those are rushing yards. They can effectively defend. They're an effective defensive team as well. But what you see here is the 280.3. The only team better than them was actually the team I beat previously, which was Louisiana Monroe, which is Skelter's team. And then they have a very balanced defense. So right from the beginning, my key thing here is I wanted to stop the run. So I wanted to really stop the outside run, and I wanted to guard against the inside run. Because I thought that because Invisible does one wishbone, that he would use that against me and potentially be able to run inside on me, right? The second thing is I wanted to control the clock. I wanted my defense to not be on the field the whole game. Whenever you play against a rushing team, you do not want your defense to stay out, though. They will wheel down, and depending on how much depth you have, Maryland actually has quite a bit of depth. That can really, really hurt you really quick. And then the third thing is I wanted to get pressure on Etheridge to see if I could make him make mistakes or just slow him down. But really, my game plan was simple. Stop the run, force the pass, get pressure on Etheridge, and then slow the game down. Because I didn't want him scoring like 70 points on me, which he's quite capable of doing. Now, the reality is, if Invisible had thrown the ball more in this game, if maybe he had focused on that instead of the run, he would have completely obliterated me. I took a gamble with what I did, but even in taking the gamble, I still had some fail-safes in place because the plays I was choosing would allow me to also guard against the pass, maybe just not as effectively. Now, the controversial thing that I did in this game that some of you have asked me about, and I might as well show you this now. So we'll talk about what I did right and what I did wrong in a second, but let's just talk about this. Is I ran dime. A lot of people, I've had one person who flat out told me that I have emasculated the football game and you're one of those assholes from Madden. One, I don't know what you talk about. I don't play Madden. I did play college football way back in like 2016. But I think one of the things you need to understand about me is my roots in this genre began with bowl-bound college football, which is a Grey Dog software product. God, I wish they would update that fucking game. But my roots start there. And in Grey Dog, for those of you who have played it, when you play defense, you have three different types of things you can add percentages against. One of them is run, one is balanced, and one is pass. Now, if you're familiar with WWCF, which is our bowl-bound college football league here, you would be familiar with a guy named Merrill. Merrill is probably one of the best coaching minds I've ever seen. He's up there with Doc Williams in my mind. He knows how to run the ball better than anybody. And because Maryland and Texas Tech are constantly meeting, or Maryland and Rutgers, I have to know how to stop the run. It's the only way to stop him. Now, bear in mind, he can throw the ball, and he's really good at that too. But a lot of times he will use the run, just like Maryland will use the pass in that league. So one year I had a tremendous lack of linebackers who had POA. That's point of attack. It's one of the indicators for whether you can stop the run or not within ball bound. But what I did have was quite a few safeties that had it. So I came up with a weird idea that instead of trying to play him with the way I normally played him, which was with 5-2 and 4-6, that I was going to play him with dime, or I was going to play him with nickel. I think ultimately I ended up doing nickel. And what I did is put a whole bunch of really capable safeties on the field, went hard into the run, chose the run plays that I thought would work, and I think I won that game in a very close game, and it was the first time I think I held him under 100 yards of rushing. The parallel here is that's what I did with Invisible. What I thought in this game is I need plays in where I can get as many people on the line as possible. Hence the reason why I used the D-press. D-press, for those of you not familiar with it as a play, generally allows you to get people on the line. D-press, gamble, T-double gets a lot of players on the line. And my hope here was that by having the right players on the field, i.e. safeties and corners that have tackling and agility, that I would be able to, in some strength. Now, corners about 50 strength, safeties about 60, 70. I would be able to bring down his rushers and just force them back inside and then prepare against the run. Contain doesn't really do that, but it does, in theory, contain them from getting outside. Outside linebacker spies and stuff like that. Again, it allows you to spy and then the person to make the play on it. But what you see is the most common play I called was D-press, gamble, T-double, and D-press man oval. Those are staples for me whenever I play a rushing team. I did use a variation of this playbook against Skelter, but I also used... I'll have to look. I got to remember what I used, though. I don't remember that off the top of my head. But D-press is big. If you can run D-press against a rushing team and you have the right people for it, is a very effective formation. And you see here, 1.63. D-press was largely the reason why I was able to bottle up his gamble T-double and corners deep was the reason why I was able to bottle him up. Now, as we look at the game itself, right, I'm actually on Auburn instead of me, so that doesn't show anything. I'm not logged in as commissioner, but so one of the things is, as you can see here, is I did stop his run. I don't know that any team held him under 100 yards this year. So very effective in that regard. Now, again, I mentioned that had he thrown the ball more, he probably would have won. You can see here I got pressure, not as much as he got on me. I forgot my fourth condition is keep Shaka from getting hurt. Because if Shaka gets hurt, Leighton McCloskey comes in, and then I lose. Because Leighton is a real 40-50% passer who should be able to do all the stuff Shaka does, but he can't. And you see here I was able to bottle up most of his rushers. Doyle hurt me quite a bit. But his passing game actually did pretty well, especially in the second half. Throughout the game, Etheridge was pretty solid. And you see here I controlled the time of possession. A large part it had to do with Bean, as well as me varying my plays. So if I had to say how I won this game, it was using dime press with the right people. Let me show you what that means. So first of all, I'll show you, I think I have one here, yeah. I'll just show you these three plays real quick, or show you dime press in general. I didn't use all these plays, so don't think that you should use all of them. So as you can see here, is I played a lot of corners deep. I played a lot of D-press man oval. Really, this game was why I brought out D-press T-double. I don't use it very often because it's got a love-hate thing with me. But when you look at D-press, what you immediately notice is you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people on the line. This is why it's effective against the rushing attack. As long as you have the right people, it's effective. Same thing here. Now, these are a little bit worse because the people play back into zone. But in theory, they should come forward as soon as it's determined it's a run. I could have probably used double Z. I have a love-hate with double Z because, again, this is a lot of zone. You see here, I actually have people very much up on the line, including people who are looking for the run. And this is one of the big reasons why I did that. Man oval, same thing. Could do man oval. I don't know why I didn't do it, to be honest. I should have. And then zone contain as well is another one you can do because you actually have people moving forward. These two guys come up. So depress, if you have the right people, works. Now, what is the right person, right? Because you're probably like, this doesn't help me, Darren. So let's look at this real quick. So if we look at formation view, this is what I actually ran against Invisible. Arturo Soto, Bobby Gardner. I'll talk about these two in a second. But Gold is right here. LeBron is right here. These two guys play back. Sheldon Mills was playing in the middle. And then, of course, my line is what my line always been. It was focused on strength and push as opposed to what I normally do, which is speed. Because like Devin Rishi is not a starter for me. That's normally Virgil Monaco, who sat on run plays for this. These guys are normally the same. But if we look at those people I mentioned, what you'll immediately notice, let's just go there. So from a cornerback perspective, what I did is I found who my best tacklers were. Now, I chose Sudo over Stevens because of his strength. 38 strength, he's not bringing anybody down. 52, he can break a block against a wide receiver because most wide receivers are not that strong. And then he has good enough tackling that he can bring somebody down. Plus, he has skill and lots of speed. Gardner is a converted safety. I moved him over, I think, last year, maybe this year. Don't remember. But you can see here both players are also extremely intelligent. And they both have really good agility. Gardner has 58. So receivers are going to have a hard time blocking these guys, is my point. And both of them are very capable tacklers. Now, when we look at Gold, who's a strong safety, I could have easily put Trevino here, but I needed Trevino to play back in coverage because he's better at that. But Gold has 70 strength, 78 agility, 65. Again, intelligent dude, right? He's a pretty good tackler, too. Got good speed. I could have probably played Eccles there, but I just thought Gold would be better at this. And then, of course, LeBron is not as strong. I probably should have played Donald, though. But he's got good agility, and he is a very good tackler with good skill. So, again, what I was trying to focus on was creating a barrier against the run. And that's why it worked. I don't think that it really would have worked had I tried to do 3-4s and 4-3s, because I think that he would have just ran me over. Now, the reality is I did kind of make a mistake in my game planning. I could have, at the end of the day, probably put Odell for Bills in. But I think if I remember correctly, the reason why I chose Sheldon is Sheldon weighed the most of my linebackers. I think he's actually the biggest linebacker I've got at 234 pounds. He did get hurt, and Lugo ended up coming in. Lugo is at 223. Again, capable replacement, pretty strong. But I chose Mills because of his strength. He's got good intelligence, good tackling, and good skill. Plus, he's a heavy. So that's how I was able. That's predominantly the reason why I won. Now, again, I don't think that this would work on everyone. It wouldn't work on Skeltel. Skeltel likes to run inside, so what I would be looking at a lot more if I was going to do this would probably be more nickel or 3-3-5s in order to stack the middle and create chaos in the middle. On the passing front, it's pretty simple. I was able to fool the CPU by using 3 different playbooks. This is my medium, this is my long, this is my short. UMDD short is just a running play that I use against short passing. Well, it's not rushing. I use it against short passing and outside running. Annapolis is my more traditional pass defense. You also see here I slowed the game down really much. In order to do that, I went to aggressive. I prepared against inside running, even though I thought he was going to run outside, mostly just because it would give me a little bit extra lift against inside. I was counting on my plays to actually defeat the outside running. And then, of course, don't know why I did blitz, because they blitzed and popped Shaka quite often. This is the reason why, if you look at Leighton McCloskey, you'd think that, oh, well, Dylan, you shouldn't be worrying. That guy looks really good. Yeah, until you see his stats. He's not very good. In fact, he drives me crazy most of the time. I don't have the heart to put one of these other guys in. I did think about White. I forget why I haven't, but White struggles with this offense as well. I'm hoping that the new kids coming in, specifically like Hill, will be a quarterback that I'll be able to use. I do worry about this stuff about him, but I think he's going to have a cannon on. He's from Texas, so he should be pretty good. But my hope is that he actually turns out to be a pretty good quarterback, a backup to Shaka. Shaka probably isn't going to... Shaka's probably leaving after next season anyway, so I'd be shocked if he makes it to a single year. So that's it for now. Hopefully you find this video helpful, but the key is, if you want to stop the outside run, consider dime formation. And just make sure you have the right players to run it. And if you do, then give it a try. The deep press is a really good way to kind of stop the rush, because the whole premise of the formation is that you're pressing, corners are pressing the wide receivers, which means they're playing closer to the line. Thank you and have a great night.